Hi everyone, Babula and I are back gritting our teeth through the Scorpio season of 2021. And wow, I think we have to because there is so much happening in Scorpio this month. And Babula's going to go into that, but it's going to push us to touch our deepest feelings, our darkest secrets, all of life's mysteries. And with Pluto, god of the underworld, ruling Scorpio. Babula, I'm wondering what fresh hell Pluto has in for us in November.
Oh my God, I know. It's just everything is in our face. It's very, very strong time. So as most of you watching this probably know, we're in the Scorpio season. Every time this year, the sun goes into Scorpio, sun's in Scorpio. And our good friend Mars, of course, Mars, that masculine warrior energy. I'll give you the exact date. Was it? Yeah. Well, of course. How could I forget? It was actually on All Hallows, Halloween, October 31st. Mars, the old ruler of Scorpio, decided it was time he had another go in his own sign. So in he went. So, my God, we could spend this whole hour just talking about this story alone. There's so much in it. And, you know, and of course, we're approaching the new moon, which is going to be a doozy as well. So, you know, November, I've noticed over the years, November is always a strong time of year. The sun is in Scorpio, usually around about roughly sort of 21st of October to about the 21st of November when, and we all go through quite a deep dive. And, you know, it's when all of the unmet or unprocessed material in the unconscious, whatever's been going on, tends to really be up for investigation. You know, Scorpio is the sign of the detective and so many things, but it's that, okay, we might have been avoiding this for a while. Yeah, not now. It's here now, you know, and it must be faced, even if it's really unpleasant, if it's something we'd rather not go there, thanks very much, or, you know, or something we don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
It's just time.
It sort of covers the, you know, things like you said, facing up issues around death and sex, abuse, emotional trauma. I'm thinking with also addictions, phobias, things like that, you know.
It's like Scorpio is the bottom line of everything. Like this is, you know, we take a dive down into the well, down into the cauldron, down into the valley, and down into the volcano. It's that downward movement into what's lurking in the basement. And you know, no matter how many years of therapy, healing, transformation, meditation we may have done, there's always a few more bits, you know, that are ready to be revealed, to be exposed to us, to ourselves individually, in our own life, in our own reality, in the world. I mean, in the world, there's massive amounts in the shadows that's all coming out.
Yeah. I think in relationships too, you know, with Mars there as well, it's just like, you know, the things that you haven't been saying for a long time, it's like the elephant in the room. It doesn't get discussed. It also comes up and, you know, has to be faced and dealt with, and it might come out of blue, you know, being Scorpio. It's just like, whoa, what was that?
Right. You know? And someone will say, where did that come from? Absolutely. But in fact, it's been brewing.
Yes.
You know, it's been brewing. And, you know, when Mars comes here, of course, he's very powerful in this sign because Mars rules Aries and is also a traditional ruler of Scorpio. So he's on full power here. And, you know, one way we can consider Mars governs sharp instruments, the surgeon's scalpel, the dentist's drill, the builder's drill, the knife when you're chopping up your veggies for your evening meal. You know, it's that. And when Mars is in, and the sharp blade of the warrior's sword, you know, it's Mars, something that cuts, and it can be for good or for ill, of course, as everything. And when he comes into Scorpio, there's something incredibly penetrating. Like you could use an analogy. He's using the sharp blade to cut deeper and deeper. You know, it's not a surface cut here. Deeper and deeper into, and it can hurt. It can be painful. It can be confronting, and blood might flow, like literally and metaphorically.
Yeah. And I think too, going back to Scorpio, I think that, I mean, while you were talking, I was getting this image of, you know, the witch's cauldron and the witch going, hubble, bubble, toil and trouble.
Right.
It's like, what's stirring, you know, what's
Exactly.
cooking underneath there, what magic and, you know, this sort of thing is being cast now, you know.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, in this sign, and this isn't always comfortable territory for people, but this is a sign through which we encounter the darkness. Now, we could spend hours just talking about what darkness means. So, you know, darkness can be, you know, the most abominable, evil transgressions of human goodness you could ever imagine. And that's a reality on planet Earth. It could also be a darkness that's healing and regenerating and soothing and restful and beautiful. So when we speak of dark, all of that's encompassed in Scorpio. So when we're in Scorpio season, we're often confronted with some pretty heavy, dark, shadowy stuff that we don't like, that we're not comfortable with, but that's just part of the reality of it all.
Yeah, the nature of it. Yeah.
And then hopefully if we're up for it, we can encounter that and go through some kind of deep and powerful transformation and regeneration. And it's no accident that I find it very interesting that the symbolism of this sign, like you've got this glorious screen behind you, it looks amazing. But see, the scorpion is often regarded as and it's no disrespect to scorpions, but, you know, let's face it, you know, most of us are a bit wary, if not terrified of things like scorpions, because it's got this toxin that can kill. And so the scorpion can often be seen or regarded as like the metaphor of the lowest aspect of Scorpio, just killing for the sake of killing, destroying and maiming and causing, you know, tremendous destruction, because that's just its nature. Yeah. and then when we go through some, you know, transformative processes, we can transform into more like a serpent energy that's repeatedly shedding its skin, you know, letting go, releasing of old toxins, old stuff, shedding, transforming, healing. And then eventually there's a transformation into an eagle. You know, the phoenix rises out of the ashes, the snake sheds its skin, there's rebirth, but it's an intense process. Yep.
It's a journey of, I guess, transition of consciousness.
Yes. And it takes courage, it takes guts. It's not for the faint-hearted. And so, you know, Mars as a masculine warrior energy also does symbolize courage. You know, do we have the courage to go there? And we need courage to go there.
Yeah.
And right now we need courage to go there, you know, to come to terms with the darkness, you know, on this planet. And you know, and in our own personal world, you know, what's still hidden and lurking in the unconscious, in the basement, that we haven't kind of quite gone there yet because we weren't ready.
Yeah. And I think that darkness within ourselves sometimes can be, you know, we're fearful of it, because I think under certain situations, we know that could overtake our ordinary consciousness or our evolved consciousness.
Yes.
You know, and it's there in everybody. It's there in everybody. So that's why sometimes people you wouldn't ordinarily expect might murder someone.
That's right.
Because they're put under pressure in a certain situation.
That's right.
And you think, no, not that person. Never. I would never have guessed that. But
that's
humans.
That's right. Exactly. And you used a very important word there, pressure. You know, this is a sign through which we undergo great pressure. You know, if you think of a volcano, which is such a Scorpio image, you know, the pressure deep in the earth the pressure, and then finally there has to be, like the pressure cooker our mothers used to use, there has to be a release valve, because without it the thing will explode. Well, volcanoes, they erupt at certain times because there has to be a release of that pressure.
Yep.
And that's why in the Scorpio season sometimes we can feel like we're about to erupt or explode.
Yeah.
Because we're feeling all this, it's a water sign, so there's a lot of feeling here, like you said at the start. Feeling, so there can be a buildup of emotional energy, a buildup of sexual frustration, of psychic energy, of stuff, and at some point it has to release.
Yeah, I think with all that water, it's like a bit of it reminds me of walking through the swampland. It's a bit of a swampy realm. Yeah.
Yes. My little 4-year-old grandson, he's so fascinating watching what children naturally are interested in and gravitate. He is obsessed with anything mechanical, electrical, technological. Like, he's one of those whiz kids, I think, and one of his favorite things, may sound very strange, is actually drains and pipes and plumbing. He actually will watch on YouTube. This might sound peculiar to people. There's these amazing videos. Who knew this even existed? There's this guy in Australia who's a plumber, and he's a bit of a character. And he does these videos of him at work clearing blocked drains.
Wow.
Isaac loves this.
Yeah.
And there's something, he's just completely fascinated. And it's such a wonder. He's not a Scorpio, but it's such a fascinating. So plumbers are ruled by Scorpio.
Like,
because you need
down there.
I know, and they're clearing blocked sewage pipes and stinking mess, all that. That's very Scorpio.
Yes. Interesting, isn't it?
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah. So I know. So I knew that we were going to kind of get to some intense territory here, but it's the nature of it.
Oh, I'm just having a giggle because a couple of weeks ago my daughter's drain got blocked up, and she put down some Drano, and what bubbled up were parts of a dead lizard.
It probably stank to high heaven. It's what's
good either.
Yeah. Well, what is putrid and rotten?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So I mean, Pluto is all about toxins, isn't it?
That's right.
Toxins and all those icky things. And I'm thinking, I might have said this once before, but I'm thinking, even like oil tankers having spills in the ocean, that sort of thing. It's quite like that too.
Yes, that's right. And because, this is a sign of death. And there's a lot a lot of places we could go with that. And so it can have a very destructive, and we all know in that Scorpio energy, it's an aspect of the human psyche that can be very destructive and dark. I mean, just look at the world we live in, look at history, look at ourselves, can we recognize that destructive impulse in ourselves at times, and truly, when we go through the Scorpio time of year, and when Mars comes into Scorpio, it can trigger our own rage and frustration and fury, and it can go off like that. We can be a bit shocked at our own reaction, and that urge to physically want to destroy. Now, if we're wise and have enough awareness and conscious about it, we'll find a creative way to release that, back in the 80s, I remember doing massive amounts of group therapy. We got to release a lot of rage and frustration. It was incredible. Talk about liberating in safe ways, that old thing of, bash a pillow or, get the piece of hose and bash the telephone books, which none of us have anymore. But just to release, it's about a release of a build-up in the psyche and in the body. Yeah.
I would opt for going for a walk or a jog or a cycle or something like
exactly. And really strongly and be conscious and aware of what's going on as you're consciously releasing that build up,
Yeah, I do find walking it really processes a lot of things. It's the way the body's built.
It absolutely, I agree. Absolutely, it does, because Scorpio is one of the 4 fixed signs. you know, and there's a fixed sign of each of the 4 elements. And what does fixed water do? It can have a tendency to hold on to emotional psychic energy, hold on, because it's a very powerful sign. At some point, something has to give, the dam has to burst.
Well, that fixed water is like a glacier, isn't it?
It can be.
Like there's some bit up the top, you know, exposed, but there's a heck of a lot down the bottom.
Exactly. What do they say? Like about 1/10 is you can see, and the rest of it's underneath the surface.
Yes.
So, you know, as humanity is, you know, hurtling through this incredibly intense critical time, and we know Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, has been a major part of this in Capricorn. Now that we're in the Scorpio time of year, that's really heightening and intensifying this process that we're all in.
And there's a stellium of planets in Scorpio too, isn't there?
Well, there's at the full moon. So let's talk about the full moon. So by the way, Mars will be in Scorpio through to the middle of December. So Mars is in Scorpio now for 6 weeks. So just know that, guys, you know, have compassion for yourself and others if, you know, people around you start losing their cool or something like that. But also understand that on the bigger level, this energy of Mars and Scorpio is very potent, is very powerful, and it's going to be activated in the next 6 weeks by a number of other planetary contacts. And a lot is going to happen. And some of it is not going to be easy.
Yes. Yeah, I think
that just has to be said.
Yeah. Well, that energy is just going for the jugular, I think.
Absolutely.
Ways. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, people who have Mars in Scorpio, particularly if they're conscious and their battle is on behalf of, we could say, the light or the good, there's a fearlessness here. There's a willing to step up in the face of death and do what must be done. That's how potent Mars and Scorpio can get. It's like, I don't care what you do. I know this is wrong and I'm standing right here. You know, that's Mars and Scorpio. Now, on the other side, on the dark side, Mars and Scorpio is, I'll do whatever I have to do to destroy whatever I can. You know, like it just depends which side of the fence we're standing as to how that is being used.
Doesn't care who beats up, as long as someone gets to suffer.
Exactly. You know, it's that cold-blooded psychopathic kind of urge.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, it depends. Everything always comes back to consciousness, doesn't it? To the level of consciousness, really. All right. So with that as a kind of background story to the new moon. So on November the 5th, the new moon occurs when the sun is conjunct the moon at 12 degrees of Scorpio. So this is, you know, every year in the month of Scorpio, there'll be a new moon in Scorpio. Now, this one's a doozy, technical astrological term. It's a ripper. So because this new moon, the sun and the moon together at 12 degrees of Scorpio are exactly opposite the planet Uranus at 12 degrees of Taurus. I mean, this new moon could have been at any degree in Scorpio, any one of the 30 degrees, but no, it happens to be at 12, making the exact opposition to Uranus. Uranus, of course, being the change agent, the energy of revolution, of consciousness, of shocks.
Yes.
Don't be surprised if the world is shook to its core with all kinds of shocks, both earth movement, you know, powerful things happening weather-wise, landslides, earthquakes, volcano activity, you know, just lots of big events like that around this new moon, but also around human activities. You know, it's a very powerful new moon, this one. And, you know, Mars is approaching that degree. Mars will be at 3 degrees of Scorpio, the new moon at 12 degrees opposite Uranus. So there will be surprises, unexpected developments, intensity, drama, shockwaves, things, even astrologers can't predict what will happen with Uranus when Uranus is very, very active, because things can just come out of nowhere and you go, holy moly, I wasn't seeing that one coming.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here in Australia, we're expected to have a very stormy summer.
Yes.
As well.
That's right. And in nature, Uranus is lightning. Lightning, it's electricity. It's electrical, the energy of Uranus, literally.
Yeah, we've had a lot of that recently.
Boy, have we ever. Yeah, it's been pretty constant. So it is a very, very strong new moon on the 5th. Now, let me see where. Okay, then on the 6th, the following day, Mercury moves into Scorpio. So then, yes, we will have, for those few days, 4 planets. We'll have Mercury and Mars and the Sun and the Moon. The Moon will only be in Scorpio for a couple of days. So we touched on this last time, I think. When Mercury, the thinking mind, communication, voice, words, goes into Scorpio, our mind and our thoughts and the information we're looking into, because we get very detective, investigative like in Scorpio. This is the sign of detectives.
Yeah.
And Mercury here wants to dig deeper beneath the surface, so researching, like, well, what's really good? Something doesn't smell right here. This is what Scorpios say, like, something doesn't smell right. My guts are telling me something's not right here. So Mercury, information.
Yeah.
So, so there can be information that even comes down through the airways that can be quite intense or challenging.
I think too that we ourselves might be a bit more secretive.
Yes.
We may throw away the key, rather than what we might ordinarily say. We go, no.
That's right, because after Scorpio, of course, the planets move into Sagittarius, and then we open our mouth wide and we have a lot to say, naturally. But in Scorpio, that's right. That's a very good point. It can also be that, particularly because Mercury moves quickly, and Mercury's going to catch up with Mars. And that can be also when secrets are revealed and exposed. Because there's a lot of secrets, a lot goes on in the shadow realms on planet Earth, have for a long, long time. So now the other thing we did, I think we touched on this last time, is the psychopomp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mercury, yes.
Yeah. So one of the hats that Mercury Hermes, the Greek Roman god, wore, because he wore many, which is very mercurial to me, he had many hats. He was the psychopomp, and many, many cultures have a figure like Mercury who holds that psychopomp sort of quality and energy and function. Function's a good word. So he can traverse the different realms, including the underworld. And as psychopomp, he is the guide of the souls who've just departed this life into the underworld or the upper world, to guide them safely to where they need to go. And he can guide us into so I think this is a beautiful analogy. Mercury's in Scorpio for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
He can literally guide, like information, guiding us into the underworld, or having conversations with people that maybe you normally wouldn't. You can kind of go into deeper territory or darker territory even. Yeah.
So maybe conversations around those things, like even death, our own death, or the death of others, would come up, so we face them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Conversations about death and dying and hard stuff. That Scorpio, it's all that bottom line stuff of life: birth, death, sex, money, power, misuse of power, abuse. All of that is Scorpio. Yeah.
And with Mercury too, being the psychopomp, is bringing information to us from the underworld as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
I do wonder if mediums have more contact during this scorpionic time, huh?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that people like mediums and death doulas, and some people use the term death walkers,
Yep.
people and shamans. I think that's a very sort of psychopomp archetype, isn't it? They're all within that territory.
Yes, definitely.
Exactly. And there are people who now teach and train people to become death doulas and to work with the dying. I mean, the Buddhists have been doing it forever.
Yes.
The Buddhist hospices, they actually help people in the dying process instead of abandoning them.
Yeah.
They help them and support them.
Yeah. And the shamans, they are the psychonauts, basically, and they travel with people, the souls of the people who have died, to a certain point, to make sure that they're going in the right way, the right place, the right destination. And that's, from my understanding with psychopomps, is that they're met on the other side by those who are referred to as death walkers, who walk with us after we die to protect us, because there are things in the underworld that can, get us off track and
yes,
lead us astray. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, absolutely. So this is very interesting and important territory. And the other thing I've become aware of over the years is that when we're in the Scorpio period, now I don't have any numbers, I don't know whether anyone's researched this, but it just has come to my notice that I've become very aware of deaths in the public arena, like so-and-so's just died. Oh, so-and-so's just died.
Yes.
So-and-so's just died. Or in our own personal world, it's a time when souls quite often, like it, that phrase, it's a good day to die,
Yeah.
This is the sign of the departure of souls. And so it's very likely, I think, that we're going to really notice that a lot.
Yeah, well, Pluto ruling Scorpio, it's generational, isn't it? So we'll see a swathe of people of a certain age, that
right.
we know publicly, who will hear about them die.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, I've already noticed a few, with the sun's in Scorpio. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, yes, there's something about, I think, Mercury coming into Scorpio, because he's that agile, fleet of foot being who's able to traverse different realms and different dimensions. He's not just of the underworld, he's of the upper world, the human world, like the divine realm, the messenger of the gods. He zips around everywhere. And so he's got access, as he moves through the different signs. It's that information, the messenger, he's the divine messenger. What is the message from the underworld? What are the messages that are coming through from those realms? And some of it can be very profoundly transformative and healing, and some of it can be really confronting.
Yeah.
And unpleasant, but necessary.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a sort of purging time, you could say.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And of course, all cultures, they have gods and goddesses of the underworld. I mean, Egypt had many of them. Look at the Egyptian culture and how much focus was on death and the death rites and the pyramids. And they had a number of gods and goddesses who, ruled over these realms of the underworld. And
and also there was the Oracle of Delphi too, where people would go to the temple, and she would pass on messages from the underworld, the dearly departed.
That's right.
Yeah, even information from them about which is the best choice in business, for example. Even those practical sort of things, anything like that.
That's right. And, it's very often Scorpios or people with a lot of Scorpio who work in the world realms of healing and psychic work and so on. They will often say things like, my grandfather, my grandmother, an old aunt who died when I was young, has been with me and guiding me, and sometimes comes to me and communicates to me and teaches me things. You'll often hear that. It's this. I know this Scorpio for some people can feel a bit scary, but it's actually an incredible energy, an incredible time when true transformation, empowerment, depth, healing can take place, in a very beautiful, extraordinary way, but it includes coming to terms with some dark stuff.
Yeah.
Like somebody might have experienced sexual abuse in childhood, and it's not until they're ready that they're ready to go there and to do the work of healing that.
Yeah.
And clearing.
I'm also thinking of hauntings too.
Yes.
Actually, we've just had I've got a mental blank. Halloween.
Have.
Yeah, so we've had spirits from the idea is the veil becomes thinner.
That's right.
I don't know if it does, but it's the idea of it, and the more that people think about these things, the more that bring it into their consciousness.
That's right.
So and having done that, we might find that some people may have spontaneous mediumship experiences where they might not ordinarily have.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is a very naturally, not in everybody, but in many, this is a sign of that it can be quite psychic.
Yeah.
Very intuitive, psychic. Very much so. Okay, so I said before, so Mercury moving into Scorpio the day after this very powerful new moon, and then on the 10th, Mercury does make the conjunction with Mars at 7 degrees of Scorpio. So you've got Hermes Mercury, the messenger, the psychopomp, the one who carries information, meets with Mars, that warrior energy. So that could be also a very strong day. And then the day after, on the 11th, so it's really the 10th and the 11th, Mercury still with Mars makes a square to Saturn in Aquarius. So we've got some strong days coming up in this coming 2 weeks of the waxing moon from the new moon. So that's a very strong one with Mars square Saturn and including Mercury. Mars square Saturn, in traditional astrology, these two planets were given the very sort of happy title of the malefics.
Oh, yes.
Right? And so the idea of that is that they have an energy and a reputation for being really difficult. And let's face it, Mars can cause a lot of trouble because it can incite us to anger, to conflict, to rage, to violence, to war, and so on. And that is a fact about Mars energy. But and Saturn can be, oppressive forces of control. So we're talking about them in their really kind of not very pleasant qualities. And this can be like very strong pressure, tremendous pressure. The forces of control and the pushback, it can get very powerful and very serious, actually. But in the positive light, it can also be when the pressure builds so that something is released and brought to the surface and brought out into the open, information is revealed, exposed, that causes something to move, to shift, to change, that may not have been comfortable in the process, but was necessary and required, So we've got a couple of strong weeks, folks. That's just how it is. And here we are.
Yes.
Here we are. But, it's like this is the times we live in. We can't put our head under a rock. Well, we can if we like, but it won't help really.
Mm.
Then on the 14th and the 18th, Mars and Mercury will both make the opposition to Uranus. So if we track back a little, we've spoken of this a few times throughout the year, the Saturn-Uranus square, the important Saturn-Uranus square playing out all through 2021. Very basic way of looking at them. Saturn is the energy of control, oppression, restriction. Describes a lot that people are experiencing, right?
Yeah.
Uranus is revolution, change, wanting to break free of that and they're pushing up against each other. It's like a perfect basic description of 2021. So the final of those squares is going to take place at Christmas. Christmas, but very interesting. And so every time something triggers Saturn and Uranus, this Saturn-Uranus square, which it is in November with Mercury and Mars, it can be quite cataclysmic and catalytic and dramatic, and I will use the word explosive. It just is. It can be both in the outer world and in our own inner world, in our own consciousness, but also in our personal life, around our job, our health, our relationships, our family, the stuff of life, depending on where these planets are moving in our own chart, what house is being activated and so on, what area of life is being activated. Yeah.
Wow.
I know it is. It's a pretty wow kind of a period that we're in. And some people will be saying, bring it on, let's go, let's do this, and others may be feeling, oh God, really, I don't think I want to know about that. And I understand both points of view, but yeah. So it is strong. And I think because Mercury's a part of this, Mercury with Mars, this can also include, we're finding ourselves perhaps having conversations with people that we didn't imagine we would be. Mars is an energy that wants to get straight to the point, and Mars with Mercury doesn't want to mess around. And that phrase, uncomfortable truths.
Yes.
It just wants to cut through the BS and just go, well, actually, you know what, this is what I'm seeing about it, and I'm not going to pussyfoot around it anymore. Yeah,
and let's just get to the point.
Let's get to the point.
Yeah, let's get to the heart of matters.
That's right. And let's get real here.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And it can ruffle feathers and upset people, but it's like we're at a time where there's no time to be messing about, really.
Yeah, it's a very interesting time that we're in. Everything has become intensified. Everything that we talk about every lunar cycle, it's, again, saying that we've said it before, but it's just, you only get very brief let-ups, of that release of that or lifting of that pressure. And then as soon as that short time period moves on, then it's back on again, and the next thing and the next thing. It's like those great big things that you see people build with dominoes, and they just and it just keeps going on and on and on and on. It's just, very little let up.
That's right. And that's a beautiful image you've used, because like pushing that first domino brought me immediately back to the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in January of 2020. That was the trigger. And it was like life just bing.
Yeah.
When those two planets came together, life just hit that first domino, and it's just been unraveling and unfolding ever since.
Yes, it is interesting. And this is, and when, I don't know what's going to happen in 2022. Dare I even think about it? Oh, but it's going to be another roller coaster year. And we're going to be talking about a lot of these things in different ways.
Yes.
With different dynamics coming together.
Yes.
But it's going to be another roller coaster year, and the year after that.
Yes.
Yeah. Until
all this isn't just suddenly going to stop.
No.
because the fallout, the result, the ongoing, effects and impacts are going to keep playing out for some time, and we're certainly absolutely nowhere near out the other side. There's still a lot to play out, because this is something that's been in the making for thousands of years. This is not just a few years. We're literally talking thousands of years. We're talking about the whole history of planet Earth and humanity. That's how big this is.
And we're seeing a lot of landscapes changing, politically, socially, community, workforce landscapes, everything is all changing, and it's all up for grabs, right? Basically
everything. That's right.
Yes.
Nothing is omitted from this.
It's like no stone is going to be left unturned.
And that's a very Scorpio thing. No stone is left unturned. That's right. To get to the bottom, it's like if you're weeding, you don't just pluck the top of the weed, do you? You have to pull out the root. Yes, exactly. And the roots of this system have been embedded so deeply for so long. It's not a small thing to root it out. It's not. It's massive. Because systems are intertwined with other systems too. So that's why these systems have had such a strong hold effect, because they're built together, they support each other. That's right. And they've built a tremendous base of power. And this is Scorpio territory, and it's where we meet the shadows around the misuse of power, the abuse of power, the using power to totally control and dominate. I mean, the whole axis of Scorpio Taurus is about that, actually. And so this full moon in Scorpio opposite Uranus in Taurus, it's like the Earth is going to move. Yes. Metaphorically and literally, I would say the Earth is going to move. And I mean, really, this whole lunar cycle, because the new moon, of course, starts a whole new 4-week cycle. So this whole lunar cycle coming up on the 5th marks the energy of that whole 4-week cycle. And then, of course, 2 weeks after every new moon is the full moon. And this is something we have to talk about too, because we are now on this new moon entering eclipse season. Yes. Because every 6 months, of course, the new and full moons form eclipses, because they align with the nodes of the moon. So because the lunar eclipse will occur on the 19th, that is the full moon of this current cycle, will be an eclipse. And so this new moon is marking the start, you could say, of this new eclipse season. And eclipses are always times of tremendous change. They're catalysts. They trigger events. Big things happen on eclipses in the world, on the world stage, in our lives. If the eclipse happens to ping off something directly in our own chart. Really, and I've been saying this really since the start of October, from the start of October to the end of this year is very big and very strong, astrologically speaking. So we're right in the thick of it now. Yes. Yeah. And that, like you mentioned before, that last trigger in December, that's going to be the third in the series of 3, just like we had 3 last year in January, that's right, June and December, and the same this year. And we'll see yet each of those triggers has a theme. That's right. And we'll see another theme start to play itself out after that December trigger. That's right. That's right. And that's right. And it's right at the end of the year. So we're kind of going out with a bang in a way. Don't say that. Don't say that. Those words have no power. Well, maybe it'll be a bang of joy, an explosion of joy. Well, the good thing is, release. The good thing is, as we go towards Christmas, which I love, is that we move into that Sagittarian. That's right. I just want to wind up with a little bit of positive joy and hope in this session, because it's all been very heavy, all that Scorpionic energy. Well yes. That's right.
But we will move into that, that fun, playful, celebratory mode, which Babul and I will talk about as we progress. But yeah, so it's not all bad.
No, and even in Scorpio, there's a place for laughter, and often it's dark humor. It's that capacity to laugh uproariously at dark, uncomfortable stuff, and some of the greatest, most hilarious comedians in the world often have a dollop of Scorpio, because they'll often go where other people won't go, and people will laugh their heads off because, oh my God, he dared to say, or she dared to say that, and so
have you ever found yourself in a really challenging, difficult situation with somebody else? Well, you're just there and you just turn to them and you just start laughing because it's so ludicrous.
That's right.
That you just laugh. And that's that Sagittarian energy that we're going to come into to help move us through that.
And that is always the thing. I love the zodiac. The design of the zodiac is just amazing. We go through this deep, deep, deep transformative passage of death and rebirth in Scorpio, pretty much on a daily basis, death and rebirth, death and rebirth. And then we come out the other side into Sagittarius. And everything opens up and expands. Yeah. But it's only because we've gone into the deep place, and we've allowed that transformation to take place. So, and we've been courageous enough, to really go there. And I mean, I'm a bit of a champion for Scorpio, because I know it has a pretty bad reputation in many ways, but honestly, I know some extraordinary Scorpio people, and many of them are amazing healers, therapists, counselors. They work in these, shamans. I mean, really extraordinary stuff. So yeah, I'm a bit of a champion for this sign, but they've often been through some difficult times in their life to get to that place.
And going through that, followed by Sagittarius, that energy, it's a bit like, like you say, going through those difficult times. It's like in shamanic practice, it's like a dismemberment journey.
Yes.
And then you're put back together again and you come out of it. And it's like the pearl of great price, the price you've paid for going through that experience. And here's the pearl of it. And then that Sagittarius energy is like the harvest. It celebrates the harvest of that.
That's right.
The toil and the sweat of planting things, but then joy, oh joy, you have this bountiful harvest,
Exactly. And celebration, and nobody celebrates like Sagittarius, that's exactly right. That's right.
I love a party.
That's right. And not only is it that you come out and you're celebrating, there's an expansion that's happened, isn't there? It's like, oh my God, look, and we open to all these new possibilities that have only become available because of that deeper journey.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
Right.
But we'll talk more about that as we progress.
That's right. So we will get there, folks.
Yes.
We've got some pretty intense stuff to move through. And literally, as I said before, I definitely know there are some people who are going, yes, let's do this. I'm ready. This is what we have to do. And it's great.
Yeah, bring it on. And by the way, any viewers, if you've had some experiences that have been intense, and we'd love to hear it, just put your comments down below. We'd love to hear about what's going on, how any of what we're talking about relates to you in your life, or what you're seeing on the world stage, anything like that. We love comments, so feel free.
Absolutely. To do that. And I'm happy to respond and answer people's questions if you have any, and sure. Because it's important that we engage, and I think in Scorpio, with Mercury here, to feel safe, to be able to speak about things that maybe you don't really want to tell everybody, but, to tell a trusted person because they've been there too. That's the beauty of this energy.
Yeah. And you can make those comments anonymously too, so that's fine.
Of course, if you want to do that, of course you can.
Yeah, but we really would love to hear, you share some of your insights about the whole experience too, what you're going through.
Yeah. And that will lead us then, you know, after the 18th with Mars opposing Uranus, will bring us to the full moon lunar eclipse, which we will talk about next time.
Yes. Looking forward to that. Let's get out of all this and move on.
So speaketh the Sagittarian. That's right, exactly.
I just want to cross that bridge.
That's right.
And burn it behind me.
She wants to get on her horse and gallop off into
Absolutely.
the wild.
Where's my centaur?
That's right. That's right. That's you are the centaur. That's right.
But anyway, was there any final words about this lunar cycle, Babula?
No, I think just no, I think we've really covered it all. Nothing else comes to mind.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time. And we'll have moved through a lot of this energy, and we'll be able to talk about some of our experiences.
So just one little thing I just want to also say, during the Scorpio month, when the sun's going, people can often feel quite heavy and really tired, like their energy can get really sluggish and heavy. That's okay. It's natural. So just take care of yourself. Rest when you need to. It's not like a lightweight, like kind of an energy. So if you need to just really slow down, take time out, because we actually are processing a lot, even if it's unconscious. And so sometimes we just need quiet time, downtime, rest time. You know, you may not be feeling very sociable during this period. It's okay. Don't worry about that. That's quite natural. Let yourself just withdraw and retreat a bit if that's what you need to do.
Yeah, rest is so important.
It's so important.
I don't know anyone who's sleeping well at the moment.
No.
I haven't slept well for the last 2 years. So
I know. That's right. We're just going through this whirlpool of energies.
Yeah.
So, that's all I want.
Great. And just a reminder for those people who want to know, go into a bit more depth about what's happening next year in 2022. Babula is running a workshop face-to-face here in Brisbane and online on the 21st of November. So contact her at, what's your website again, Babula?
It's my name, babulaclement.com.au.
Yeah. So,
and you can go on my mailing list there, and I send emails out about what's happening and so on.
Actually, that's probably the best idea.
Yeah, or you can just contact me there and ask me a question. Or
and you're on Facebook too.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. Yeah.
And by the way, so am I.
That's right.
on the Body Light Centre Facebook page. So drop in there and say hi.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone. We hope you enjoyed that, and we will see you next time.
Yes.
Bye for now.
Well, bye.
Bye.